Question number 24. Read on super expected. While preparing the financial statement for the year ended 31st March 2003, Alpha Limited has observed two issues in the previous year India's financial statement, that is 31st March 2002, which is as follows. So some issues were there in previous year. The company has presented certain material liability as non-current in its financial statement for the period as on 31st March 2002, means previous year. While preparing annual financial statement for the year ended 31st March 2003, means current year, management discovered that these liabilities should have been classified as current, should be classified as current. The management intend to restate the comparative amount for the prior period presented. First thing we need to understand whether it is a reclassification or whether it is error. Means last year there was some liability which was non-current, but sorry, which was current, na? Which was current but shown as non-current last year. Means there was some liability which were current but has been classified as non-current. The first point is that in the current year it will be considered as an error or reclassification. Error or reclassification. Bolo. Understood what I am saying? Ki last year, previous year, this is the previous year balance sheet. So we have shown certain material as non-current liability. Some non-current liability has been shown, but actually it was what? Current liability. So in current year we need to do some adjustment, but whether it is a reclassification or error, पहले ये बताओ. Error, correct, 100%. Why you think so much? Whatever you are thinking, that is correct only. I am trying to confuse you. Don't be confused. Correct now. Means reclassification happen only when Ind AS permit. This is what? A wrong classification done in previous year. So any wrong classification done in previous year will be an error only. So it means correction is required, and correction is required retrospectively. Correction is required retrospectively. This you have understood? Correct. Then issue number 2. The company had charged of certain expenses as finance cost in the year ended 31st March 2002. While preparing annual financial statement for the year ended 31st March 2003, it was discovered that these expenses should have been classified as other expenses. Means some expenses were treated as what? Finance cost, but actually it was what? Other expenses. The error occurred because of the management inadvertently misinterpreted certain facts. So this is also an error. The entity intend to restate the comparative amount for prior period presented in which the error occurred. What is your analysis and recommendation in respect of the issue noted with the previously presented state of financial statement? Means what you need to write down? That both are error. What is required? Restatement. This retrospective restatement is required. Only in the answer one doubt will come, whether third balance is required or not. My question to you all, whether in issue number 2 third balance is required. Means last year some expenses were treated as finance expenses, which is actually other expenses. So when you will correct it in the comparative SOPL, whether it will affect the information given at the beginning of previous year? No. It will never affect the information given at the beginning of previous year. Therefore, for issue number 2, they have clearly mentioned the entity. Sorry, issue number 1. It is given. What is given? You can see they have given now. The retrospective restatement in SOPL has no effect on the information in the balance sheet at the beginning of preceding period, and therefore, what is not required? Third balance is not required. Now the question is that, have you read issue number 1 solution? Not read, na? Issue number 1. Ki last year there were some non-current liability which require a reclassification into what current liability. Now the question is that for the whether third balance sheet is required. No or yes? Prima facie no, but the answer is yes. Prima facie, if I am also a student, I will say what? No. But answer is yes. Just try to understand. This is an expense. And can I say expense does not affect any balance because expense will be charged to PL. But can I say just try to understand if you are saying this non-current liability was restated, so of course this non-current liability might have some opening balance. How can you say that this non-current liability does not have an opening balance? This is a previous year balance sheet. Means last year some non-current liability was shown as current liability. But this non-current liability may have some opening balance na. अरे बोलना रे नहीं. How can you assume that this non-current liability does not have an opening balance? This is wrong assumption, I will say. Wrong assumption you are taking. How can you say this is means? Of course it does. If it has no opening balance, then of course the information at the beginning of previous year will not be affected. But of course the can I say any liability may have an opening balance, and if this is current liability, so this may also be current liability. Means the restatement may affect materially the information as on the beginning of previous year. Therefore, third balance is required. Or if you are of the opinion that sir will give both the answer, give both the answer. Sir, if it does not affect, then no. If it affect, then yes. However, in the solution they have considered yes. What they have written, check करेंगे. And this is most doubtful question among what student? Most doubtful question among student. Correct? So issue number one, what they have given. India's one require the entity to present the third balance sheet at the beginning of preceding period in addition to minimum comparative financial statement if it makes retrospective restatement, correct? Accordingly, the entity should present a third balance sheet at the beginning of preceding period in addition, but they have not given any reason. They have written yes, it affect material information as of the beginning of previous year, therefore third balance is required. However, if as a student if you have doubt, you can write in this way: if it affect, yes; if it does not affect, no. Because question is not clear. Question is not clear. So you can mention if restatement effect opening balance of previous year, third balance sheet required. If do not affect opening balance of previous year, third balance sheet not required. Got it? Got it? Yes, sir. Got it. Done.